Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the latest edition of the Woke Bros. Of course, I'm your co-host, Big Wos, aka Wosny Lambrain. I'm joined as always by my brother, my partner, super producer, Hollywood big shot on the west side of Los Angeles, Nando Vila. What's going on, brother?
How's it going, man? Doing all right? Just fucking out here.
Fantastic. I'm rounding out my latest East Coast road trip. I feel like a baseball player. Except without the road beef, Nando.
Yeah, I know. Fucking A.
Just city to city, a week at a time. But yeah, man, on today's show, we wanted to get into the Republican debate. None of these jokers are going to win the nomination.
No.
If you look at any freaking poll, they're absolutely getting creamed by Donald J. Trump. But these folks, people don't realize this, but there is like utility in just being in it. Just being somebody who is on that stage ups your profile amongst a whole cast of corporate characters. And so it's in their best interest it's actually in their personal best interest to do this clown show and embarrass themselves like this, even if they won't win.
Yeah. I mean, this is a unique situation though. Like, this is unprecedented what's happening right now.
Yeah, it's unprecedented.
It's unprecedented where there's just, there's a former president who's now the front runner who's not even like engaging with them. Yeah. It's like, because usually the bump that you get, even if you're like a joker on one of those stages, is the fact that you're on the same stage with the person who is ultimately going to be the nominee or the president or whatever. Like, just the fact that at some point there's a picture of you and, Pete Buttigieg was on stage with Joe Biden debating him, or whatever. And like, that's, that ups his profile dramatically, but none of these jokers get to stand next to Trump because he won't even participate. Yeah. I mean, again, like the same moral broad storylines as always. I mean, they're all absolutely insane. I mean, this guy Vivek Ramaswamy is really maybe like the most annoying person that's ever lived. There's that clip of him saying that, look who's moderating this debate tonight. It should be Tucker Carlson, Elon Musk, and Joe Rogan. And it's like, man, you are way too online. Like, you are way too online for your own good to have any prayer of doing anything meaningful. And so, yeah, I mean, the only benefit of these things is just to kind of get some sort of sick pleasure in seeing them all really fucking drowning.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's not as if like, if you have a problem with, say, the Dems and you're just like, yo, man, this sucks. I wish they would like do something better than what they're doing. It's like, no, this is not the alternative, to be honest. Like, this is not what you want. These guys are like, if you think Joe Biden's foreign policy is way too hawkish and way too flippant about the death of innocence, then man, if you turn on that debate and hear what these jokers have to say about it, they're even more bloodthirsty. They're going back to the type of rhetoric we heard starting September 12th. You know what I mean, about Muslim and Islamic extremists and all the crazy stuff they used to go with. And so it's not as if you get some level of reprieve from that. You don't, man. Like, it only gets worse when you start getting into these guys. And so, yeah, man, it's pretty bleak and hopeless. Yeah, man. So it's not like you're gonna hear Nikki Haley talk about any policies or Tim Scott. I don't know if you've seen, he soft launched his new baby girl, not like a baby, but like his new girlfriend or whatever.
Yeah, totally real girlfriend. Yeah,
his totally legitimate, serious girlfriend.
Yeah.
And yeah, the Vivek Ramaswamy, like, that guy is just a complete, total sicko, opportunistic, like, Republican
Psychopath, yeah. Did you see the moment? One of the moments that went viral was when, I mean, it was like it's funny to watch, but it also is just depressing to think about the substance of the political discourse in our country. But the moment where Vivek was giving Nikki Haley shit because her daughter was on TikTok, and at first I was like, "What?" And I was like, "Oh, these people are so."
Oh, there we go. Here we go.
We have the clip. We can play the clip.
Yeah. Here we go.
Wos is on the 1s and 2s today, so things.
I'm on the 1s and 3s. Let's go. Let's go. All right, here we go.
Joining TikTok while her own daughter. In the last debate, she made fun of me for actually joining TikTok while her own daughter was actually using the app for a long time. So you might want to take care of your family first.
Leave my daughter out of your voice.
Your adult daughter. The next generation of Americans are using it. And that's actually the point. You have her supporters propping her up. That's fine. Here's the truth. The easy answer is actually. In the last debate, she made fun of me for actually joining TikTok.
Wait, just the line was, in the last debate, she made fun of me for joining TikTok.
Let's run it back because he's such a smarmy prick.
In the last debate, she made fun of me for actually joining TikTok while her own daughter was actually using the app for a long time. So you might want to take care of your family first.
Leave my daughter out of your voice.
Your adult daughter. The next generation of Americans are using it. And that's actually the point. You have her supporters propping her up. That's fine. Here's the truth.
You're just
the easy answer.
You're the scum.
You're
the scum.
It's fucking great. It's great. No, and it's just funny because but what's depressing is just that's like, at first it took me a second. I'm like, what? You made fun of me for joining TikTok, and then I realized, oh, it's because they're so anti-China, and they're such China hawks that even being on TikTok is like supposed to be politically disqualifying. TikTok, which is thoroughly mainstream. Yeah.
At the debate on that anti-China front, Nando, sorry to cut you off. Sickos like Tim Scott were basically trying to make their new axis of evil. China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea, as if they're like four countries that operate in concert with one another at every single turn, sort of in the way that we see the state of Israel and our own government operate. That's not how these four countries they just happen to be four of our, international foreign enemies, if you will, but they're not actually they're not actually a coalition now. There are countries, India, for instance, and other places like Brazil, other places in the global south who have sort of in more recent years been like, yo, America, we're not doing this freaking black and white, us versus them. We're going to cherry pick, the policies from countries that we rock with. We don't really care if they're your enemy or not. We're not going to not deal with somebody diplomatically, economically, whatever, just because the U.S. has a problem with them. That can't be the sort of the cover charge, if you will, of being in the cool club with America. Like, people have completely abandoned that sort of Cold War way of thinking, but America is so stuck in that mode, that mindset, and these psychos on stage are actually parroting this nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing to me that gets me, or the feeling that I have when I hear a lot of this stuff, it's different from back in the day. I mean, Wos, you and I are old enough to remember, what it was like after 9/11, whatever. Like, people felt sincerely that America should lead the world for a project to make the world a better place.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, even when you hear that kind of talk, it feels completely empty and it feels completely cynical, and that those people don't actually believe it. Like, those psychopathic neocons in the Bush administration were true believers,
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then there was like the liberal do-gooders like your Samantha Powers and your Barack Obamas and stuff, like, who believed that America is like an indispensable nation that needs
and we're spread the idea that we were spreading democracy, because like American style democracy and Western style democracy is so beautiful and infallible, and these savages are still adhering to like tribal conflicts and order, and we're gonna bring them into modernity, and these savages in the caves. Like it's the classic colonial sort of rhetoric, right? We're civilizing the savage. They don't even bother with that anymore. It's just straight up, we got to project strength. Might is right. That's it.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it just feels like has like a much more violent edge now than it used to. Also, like just to kind of like, it feels a little bit like a kid, the kid who feels like he's not getting his due in the playground and just like ruins the game for everyone. Takes the ball and
takes
goes
his ball home.
Yeah. Look, let's play this Vivek clip.
I got another Vivek.
Yeah.
Another Vivek. Whatchamacallit, clip real quick. Here we go.
And frankly, look, the people there cheering for losing in the Republican Party. Think about who's moderating this debate. This should be Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, and Elon Musk. And frankly, look, the people there.
This guy's sick.
He's way too online. We always talk about this. You can't be online and be a successful politician. That's AOC's downfall.
He's such a loser. Joe Rogan, because Joe's six-pack gives a fuck about Joe Rogan. He doesn't, bro, like at all. Like nobody, like, yes, Joe Rogan has a very popular podcast. And yes, we think digital media is going to be the media of the future, but he's not like Howard Stern or something, like where everybody understands like who he is and what he does on the media side. Like, this is crazy. This is nuts. This is exactly what tanked Ron DeSantis's campaign. The governor from your home state, the great state of Florida. Like, he thought he was going to come with this woke mind virus and all of the nonsense discourse that you get from quote unquote left and right people on the internet. And everybody is just that has encountered his sicko nature has been like, yo, what is he talking about?
Yeah.
Ron
DeSantis announced his campaign on X/Twitter, and the live stream like collapsed. And remember that? Like, that's you're way online, dude. I'm sorry, you don't understand.
Like, why did you think launching your campaign on X was the wave? Like, what are you talking about? Yeah. Like, how many people are actually on X? Like, how many voters are actually on Twitter? That's sick.
Yeah.
Anyway, that whole enterprise, and you're right. I'm glad that you pointed out the just weird nature of the Republican primary at this point, where Donald Trump gets to just completely ignore these dudes and and they just go on stage and make a complete fool of themselves. And we go from one set of fools to another one. Your man Joe Manchin just announced today that senator from West Virginia, Democrat, what's a dino? He's a dino.
Democratic name only. It's like a rhino.
Yes,
but, yeah.
Yes, he's a dino. In the worst way possible, by the way. He announced that he's not running for re-election for the Senate, which tells you he's ready for, his next phase of just raking in mad dough.
Just getting it paid. Yeah.
Sitting on boards and, honorary speaker and consulting and all of this other shit. He's done being in the Senate. And what he's going to do, Nando, is he's going to try to unite the center. That's what he's going to try to do, Nando. He's going to try to go around the country, he said, uniting the center, which essentially means what I think and what most people think is that the no labels nonsense, which is that a super PAC? Is that a think tank? What is think tank? What is no labels?
Yeah, it's like a collection of current and former politicians who it's not really like a super PAC. It's kind of like more of like an advocacy group. I don't know, like it's just fucking bullshit. It's like it's more like a Move On or Center for American Progress, probably, but for for the center, you know?
Yeah, and so of course these are the just like your run of the mill, milk toast, centrist ass, you know.
Well, not just it's even worse than that. It's what they do is they basically advocate for policies that help the rich and try to browbeat mostly Democrats into supporting it. You know, because Republicans already agree on all that shit. You know what I mean? It's basically a way to hedge against Democrats winning power for the rich, if that makes sense.
Right. And again, it's there is no constituency for these clowns. That's why they had to start their club. There's no like, oh, we're the no labels portion of the Democratic Party, like say the Black Congressional Caucus, right? Like, look, I have my own problems with those homies, but you understand it. It's like the Black people in Congress, blah 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 blah, or or even like the Squad or whatever. The reason why this group doesn't exist is because like this is what the establishment already is. This is what Nancy Pelosi and Hakeem Jeffries already do every single day. It's just, I don't know. I think they just feel like the brand of establishment or centrism has become rightfully so a dirty word because, again, there's no actual voting block or constituency for these ideas of, being nicer to corporations. And so, yeah, they're just like, yo, we used to be a party that liked business, that liked corporations. And some Democrats, rightfully so, are like, yo, this shit is nasty. It's tone deaf for us to come out and be, sucking corporate dick every single day when everyday people are suffering. So, by the way, not that they don't even go out and vote like that anyway. It's really just a rhetorical game. Like even the name of quote unquote no labels, it's just like, oh, we need to go back to civility because Americans' lives were so much better when politicians spoke politely to each other in public. It's just completely crazy. But the reason why this is important is because one, Joe Manchin's West Virginia Senate seat is probably most definitely going to a Republican.
Yeah.
And so he's dealing a blow. He's stabbing the Dems in the back that way. And his freaking third party candidacy is not going to have any Republican juice behind it.
No.
This is going to be an attempt to siphon off, suburban, upper middle class, white collar Democratic Party voters who have kind of become the bread and butter of the party. And it's just like, he's just stabbing these fools in the back. And again, this is the same Joe Manchin that has held up every single bill Joe Biden or anybody else ever wanted to do so that he could get his buddies in the fossil fuel industries as many concessions as possible. This guy has been, the most annoying, awful Dem that you could imagine, and he's wielded that power. I remember when Joe Biden first got elected, it was like a joke that like Joe Manchin thinks he's the president.
Yeah.
Joe Manchin thinks every single bill should go through him or whatever. And now this is just the final death blow before he goes swims in his money like Scrooge McDuck. He's just gonna deal the Dems one last final death stroke.
Yeah. The silver lining I find all this is like finally the Democrats will not have their best excuse. Like I think they kind of secretly like that Joe Manchin was so yeah. I mean it's at least they won't they'll have one less excuse to like not pass anything that helps anyone. Classic. It always was like, well, we can't do anything to help your healthcare or to help your pension or whatever.
Yeah, Joe Manchin won't let us.
Yeah, he won't let us. And there's nothing we can do to pressure him, So yeah, sayonara, Joe Manchin. Who gives a shit?
And speaking of Joe Biden, Sleepy Joe gave a speech in a meeting with the UAW. He went and met with the leaders of that union in support of their now after fresh off of their victory over the big three automakers. They're now, as we said, an episode or two ago, they're now about to try to organize Tesla and Toyota in America. And Joe Biden was at a rally in support of that effort. And at one point during the rally, he ripped off his jacket, Nando.
Yeah.
To throw on a UAW sweater.
It's wild. It's like absolutely wild. It's really wild. I mean, this is extremely LBJ. I was texting you that this feels like LBJ's presidency. I mean, the fact that a Democratic president sitting in office is so openly supporting the UAW is something that Obama would never have done, right?
No.
Or certainly President Hillary Clinton, had she won, would never have done, you know? Yeah. And so it is really wild, but meantime, his poll numbers are tanking because of basically foreign policy, because of his like just complete and total lack of ability to rein in what Israel's doing in Gaza, and this feeling that this thing is just getting out of hand in a way that really affected LBJ's presidency with Vietnam, right? Like LBJ built the Great Society, gave us fucking Medicare and Medicaid. Okay. And surpassed civil rights, and would have gone down as one of the most popular presidents of all time, won the most stunning re-election campaign in American history at the time, and then was just completely derailed in a very short period of time by the war in Vietnam, you know, by foreign policy, which he didn't really have an interest in or care about or want to deal with.
Never cared about it. This guy was a lifer in the Senate. Like, he never gave a shit about what was going on globally.
Yeah. So it is really wild that, like, you know, obviously, like we've covered the UAW strike extensively on the show. As we've said a million times, it is the most encouraging political development in America in several years. And the fact that the president is so openly supporting them is a sign of how, when you flex your power, you force the politicians to come to you.
Oh yeah.
You know, you force them to come to you, just like you force the bosses to come to you, etc. So again, this is a stunning political development. I mean, it probably flew under the radar for the mainstream media, but it is a stunning political development. Did I send you that clip of Jim Kramer reacting to the UAW?
Oh my God, yes.
We need to play that.
Let me pull up Jim Kramer for y'all, because that was fantastic. But again, you know, Nando sent me this clip of Biden giving the speech at the UAW and just being completely, like, you know, doing the right thing in a way that's just quite stunning. And I'm just like, God, man, just when I'm like, man, you know, it's time to completely dismiss this guy. He absolutely freaking sucks. The way that he's handling this situation in Gaza, he pulls me back in. It's freaking nuts. And here's Jim Kramer. You know, Jim Kramer, of course, CNBC host of Forever, famously was like, you're a freaking idiot if you're giving up on Lehman Brothers.
On Bear Stearns,
you're a freaking idiot if you're giving up on Bear Stearns. You don't know what you're talking about. But like 2008, he was just so famously wrong. But like, again, you know, he is so bought and paid for by the moneyed classes, the business interests, the corporate classes, you know, of our economy in America. Like, he's just a mouthpiece for that. Anything that comes out of his mouth, that's what he's talking about. Earlier, and I didn't bother trying to find the clips before, but he talked about I don't like this UAW rhetoric, this Sean Fain guy. He's talking about class warfare. And I'm like, Jim, newsflash. They've been waging that shit on us for 50 years. Are you kidding me? Yeah, he's talking about let's wage it back on our own behalf. Anyway, this guy was like, he was so sad about the rhetoric of the UAW and, oh, this UPS, the Teamsters. Oh, I can't believe this. This is killing me. Oh my God. He was so sad. But after the UAW kicked the boss's asses, he had no choice but to give it up.
I think that the UAW was underestimated the whole way, because Fane just beat them everywhere. It was very much guerrilla action. It was very smart. They were completely they were outgained at every turn. I mean, it was almost like that Fane was a great NFL coach who really figured out all the weaknesses of the other team and just came in and blew them away. They were blitzing. They were doing everything right. I mean, they had like linebacker and corner blitzes and safety blitzes, and they like the other guys I love Farley and I love Barr, and I think that they were, wow, what happened? They were in the wow, what happened camp, and when the game was over, it was just a real beatdown.
This is the most satisfying clip I think I've ever seen in the history of cable news. Dude, the business press is so much more worth watching and engaging with than the political, like CNN or MSNBC or anything like nonsense. Like, they talk about real issues on the business press. They're just on the other team, but they're more honest in a way, right. And just hearing Jim Kramer, who is like the smiling face of American capital, it just, tip his hat to fucking the UAW and Sean Fane for their guerrilla tactics and for doing safety and corner blitzes. That was so fucking satisfying.
And before we end the show, we just want to hit you guys with one more clip because we want to keep the good vibes rolling in here. And it's a clip of our former president, Donald J. Trump, aka 45, aka the MAGA Messiah. He's at a campaign rally in Florida, once again, Nando's home state. And you know what? The clip just kind of speaks for itself. Let me just cue this up and shut the hell up.
And your Congressman Carlos Jimenez, you know him? Carlos Jimenez. Some people say Carlos Jimenez. Oh, you don't like him? What's going on? Carlos, come on, Carlos.
Carlos, come on.
Right now. Carlos Jimenez. Really? Wow. Carlos.
Carlos. He's genuinely surprised. Like, wait, you don't fuck with somebody that I fuck with?
Yeah.
That's crazy. How could that be? Hialeah. Wow. That's where they at, boy. That's your neck of the woods, isn't it?
That's Hialeah. It's so funny because like he probably like met with Carlos Jimenez. Probably first of all, like he couldn't even pronounce his fucking name. Like Carlos Jimenez is like
Carlos.
Jimenez. Some people say Jimenez.
Jimenez.
I don't know, folks. I don't know how to pronounce it. But he's like he probably met with him, and Jimenez probably did the appropriate genuflection to Trump. And, Trump probably liked him, and then he probably assumed that everyone else liked him. And then when he gets up there, he's like, "You guys don't like him?" But he doesn't actually care. He's just like surprised. It's so fucking funny, man. If you guys can find.
We gotta run this back one more time before we get
Carlos. You gotta straighten it out.
And your Congressman Carlos Jimenez, do you know him? Carlos Jimenez. Some people say Carlos Jimenez. Oh, you don't like him? You don't like him? What's going on? Carlos, come on, Carlos. We got to get that straightened out. Carlos Jimenez. Really? Wow. Carlos.
Carlos.
And your Congressman Carlos Jimenez, you know?
Carlos.